Oh, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome along. It is the Soulful House Mafia. Tuesday evenings, the way forward, the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Myself, Andy Ward, in the hot seat alongside Mr. Craig Bartlett, one of the founding members of the Soulful House Mafia. I'll explain why in a little while. And joining me tonight, we've got two great guys representing the South Coast family. Going to get straight into it and say hi to Bob Povey and Garcia. Good evening, gents.
Good evening. Good evening.
How
Great
are
to
you?
see everybody.
Welcome back, Craig. Thanks for being here, man.
You're
I
welcome. I'm
am
glad they'll be
happy.
open
I
to
am
it.
happy to say that everything is working fine. You guys all look absolutely beautiful on camera, and the comments are coming through that I can actually read. And I can say hi already to Duncan James and to Chris Wheatley, who have already commented. As you know, gents, I'm going to be doing my very best to keep up to speed with the people who are sending in the comments. I'm going to do my best to draw reference to anything that they say. But for the most part, it's just us four having a little chinwag about the good old days. Does that
Can I
sound
just
good?
say, and you know all the sponsorship and endorsement offers that are coming through live now?
Yeah.
Can you just shelve them towards the end so that we can get through the chat and then discuss the big deals at the end?
I will do. I will do. I'll try my best not to interrupt any of you, but because the chat is going fast, every now and again I'll shout out a name. So I've got here Des Curley. Okay, I don't know.
He's an old Manor boy, hello Des. Hello Des, good evening,
Okay,
mate.
brilliant. Also, Mark Johnson is with us. Shouts out to
Right,
Mark.
Boomer.
So feel free to shout out to the boys. I'm just double checking. Everything is working great. I heard someone's email notification ping there. Close down your mail apps because I don't want to be shouting at you through the rest of
Yeah,
the
that was
evening.
me. Sorry.
That's
Like
okay.
I've told you, I'm a troglodyte when it comes to technology. You're leading the way, Andy. I doff my cap to you. It's very, very impressive.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for taking over the hot seat once again and taking charge, keeping us all in order and directing us. And don't be afraid to tell us off because we haven't seen each other for quite some time. It's going to be quite emotional. I'm getting emotional just looking at those lovely, beautiful faces.
You're allowed to hug now, aren't you, in Wales officially today?
No, next Monday. In
Well,
England,
next Monday.
it's the
There'll be a lot of happy
It
sheep.
was Wales was today. I thought all this. That's why I saw the sheep running.
The sheep are disappointed.
You're not allowed to say that anymore. So, right, from the very beginning, let me just explain where we are, what's happening, because not everyone's going to be up to speed with how this came about. I have to give a shout out to Mark Wilkinson, who was the gentleman who gave us the name of the Soulful House Mafia. I was asked to do an interview with him, and I said the only way I was going to do it is if I could bring a few of my friends on with me who we could talk about the good old days and share some of the fun stories. So, Craig and Lee Wright were the first guys that I thought would be great for a conversation. And Mark Wilkinson gave us the name the Soulful House Mafia. I really didn't like it at first, but it's really stuck with me. And the important thing is, it is a huge mafia up and down the country. We're going back to the early to mid 90s, and there's a world of boys and girls, men and women, who are responsible for bringing that soulful sound to the masses. And over the course of the weeks, we are going to give full representation to each and every one of them. So, you guys watching us, if there's any names that you feel we need to bring on with us, then that's going to happen. I am going to sit in silence and let you guys do all of the talking because I do more than enough. So, Craig, coming back to yourself, it's going to change between you and Lee every 2 weeks as to who's going to be on the opening panel, so to speak. And I know you're very excited to talk to Bob and Si, right?
I am. I haven't seen these two boys for some time.
Yeah.
The last time I saw Si, I'll let him tell a story because it's quite a funny story related to football. Last time I saw Bob, I think it was a Southport Bob, wasn't it?
It was Southport, yeah.
And it's just bizarre, right? We've all met. For everybody that's watching, thank you for tuning in. If I'm boring you, just wait until the other guys speak because they are absolutely not just the best DJs you'll see, amongst the best DJs in the world, in my opinion, running their own nights, playing the best music. They're absolutely salt of the earth guys that I would class as lifelong friends. And I'm so pleased that Andy referenced at the very, very beginning that I'm one of your friends. That's very much heartfelt, mate. And I appreciate that. Because as you say, when we talked about this Soulful House Mafia, it was like, oh, not quite sure about that, but actually we have become like a family, and we've sort of, our careers and our businesses and our love of music and Soulful House has grown as a collective, not as individuals. And I think together we've sort of brought each other on. I think for me personally, you know, we're taking a mick about me shagging sheep, being Welsh and all that, and that's great. And we do that. To be fair, we do. We wear their clothes. We wear their...
There's no lying.
There's no lying. But as a collective, we've sort of inspired each other. And going back to when I met Bob last, everywhere we've ever been around the world, whether it's Miami, Southport, London, big events, we always tend to migrate to each other and spend the days, the nights, the next day with each other, because we always have got on, and we're like kindred spirits, really, aren't we? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I probably hadn't seen John for probably 2 years, but it was as though we'd seen each other the week before. We go back to exactly where we were, the same as me and you, Si. Every time we've ever seen each other, it's as though we've never not seen each other. And we got everything the same in common, other than the style of dress and fashion. I tend to think as myself as a sartorial elegance.
A trailblazer. Trailblazer.
You only get it from that one.
I'm joking. But it's just been amazing that how over probably the last, 97 was our big year, I think, when we all sort of proper came together. 97. That's 24 years.
It's a long time.
24 years, we've all known each other, and we've all had different careers in different kinds of aspects of the music business. You look at Bob, for instance, he'll tell you about Bump and Hustle. I'll let him do that. But that's 30 years?
29 years. 29
years. Mm. So you would, and you could talk, I want you to talk about, you know, there's some inspirational members of the UK house scene now that are leading the way, that were cutting their teeth at Bump and Hustle.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Which you can talk about. So it's just absolutely amazing that we're sat together here, all virtually in the same room. Thank you to Andy's technical ability. And it's putting a smile on my face that how excited, and I hope you can tell in my voice.
I am. You're very emotional.
Excited to see you both.
Truly emotional. Well, Craig, you're going to have to try and curtail that excitement at the beginning of every talk that we do, because we're going to have just the same amount of people who are going to make you so buzzing. So it's all good. So what we're going to do as our honoured guest, what did we say we were going to call them? They are obviously part of representing the South Coast family, but we were saying they were the heads of families, the foot shoulders, and there are the captains.
They're the Tony Sopranos of the South Coast, aren't they?
Well, there you go. So let's. I want to say hi to Adam Mills, who's giving a shout out to Bob. Also, I mentioned Des earlier. Chris is still here. Conrad as well. Shout out to Conrad. Thanks for being here, my friend. Saying sorry I'm late. We're just beginning, man. We're just beginning. All of the shares and the likes will pop up and a little graphic, as you'll see on the screen. And of course, everyone that's watching on the recording that couldn't be with us live. Right then, Bob and Si. Bob, I'd like to come to you first as the head of the family, so to speak. I did say, as we were doing the quick test at the beginning, we can't really get Bob Povey's life story because that's 2 hours, 3 hours on its own. But tell us, if you can, very briefly, how you got to the point of being renowned for one of the biggest heads on the South Coast in the music scene.
I think it was a case of, I lived in America for a while. So I moved back around about 86. So at that time, there was a guy called Paul Brady. He used to come around my house. We used to read comics, Marvel comics. And he looked around all my records and he just said, you've got all these records, mate. He said, you need to get back out DJing. So I got back out doing a couple of little pubs. Then I went and DJed at a club called Madison's, where Grass DJed as well, which is a brilliant club. Like downstairs was like proper old school house. Upstairs, we used to play everything from hip hop, R&B to the early soulful garage stuff. You know, Someday, Got a Lot of Love and stuff like that. And then what happened, there used to be weekenders in Bournemouth, Bob Masters and what's his name? I can't remember his name now. They used to do weekenders in Bournemouth, but they stopped. So I got hold of the show bar and I'd done a weekender. So that weekender went really well. So Bob Masters got a hold of me and said, Bob, he said, do you want to get together and do some more weekenders? So we've done these weekenders at the show bar, and our lineups were like Bobby and Steve, Dunmore, Giles Peterson, Norman Jay, Bob Jones, people like that, Ashley Beadle. So we've done about 4 of these weekenders. And then the guy who ran the security, John Stevenson, who's a bit of a character, he used to do the private security for Terry Turbo, who does Garage Nation and One Nation. So he's like proper wrong'uns, I should say. So he just come up and he said, all right, Bob, he said, we got the show bar. He said, do you want to come and do a gig there? So I thought, yeah, I'll come and do a gig. So I thought to myself, right, I'm doing this gig. What am I going to call it? So I decided to call it Bump and Hustle. So I got John in because John was a proper salesman at that time. You know, he could sell shit to sheep, couldn't he? You know, so
at that time,
He still can.
he still can at that time. So I thought, oh, yeah, John would be good. You know, he can go out and sell the gig. So our first lineup, I remember, was myself, Dunmore, John, Bob Jones, and we had your mate from Birmingham, Danny.
Big Danny.
Doing the PA.
Danny Kane.
Danny Kane.
Wicked. Now,
Yeah, so
I'm going to state something really obvious, but just for the benefit of anybody that may not know, John Coomer. Okay.
Yeah, John Coomer.
Dunmore.
Carry on, Bob.
Yeah, so we got Danny Kane. So he'd done our first ever Bump and Hustle as a live PA.
Wow. What can you remember what the song was or what the name of his act was? Was it Pride and Politics?
No, was it called D Swing D something?
Yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah, so I remember that. So that was the first night. So I remember we thought we'd done really well. We had about 400 people in the show bar. So we thought really good. So we then just carried it on. And the first one we had 400, the second one 700, and then the third one 1100. Then it just went mad. Totally mad. But then, you know, that's where Dunmore cut his teeth, really, because Dunmore was a soul boy. He worked at Cool Tempo Records. He got the job from Danny D, which is John Coomer's cousin.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, This Is Acid.
Uh-huh.
So I got the job from him. So he started to get into Soulful House at that time as well. So that was it. The Soulful House scene, 91, 92, just suddenly went, bosh, we're doing this. And it just grew from there. And I think one of the biggest helpers really for us, because we always put PAs on, was Nikki Tracks.
Yeah.
Because Nikki Tracks, I mean, we had sort of like Michael Watford for Nikki Tracks. She was absolutely brilliant. So if anybody came in the country, she'd be on the phone going, I've got this song coming in. So yeah, how much? Yeah, £200, dirt cheap, yeah, we'll have them. And that was it. And that's how it sort of grew. And Dunmore was quite influential with us as well, because I remember we got Roger Sanchez for us, and we had him at the show bar. I think we paid £500.
Wow.
But, you know, and that came through Dunmore. So Dunmore was quite influential at that time with the growth of Bump and Hustle and how it went. But, you know, it's been a journey. It's like anything. You have your ups and downs and that, but still keep going.
Right. Well, we'll get to some of the ups and the downs, because there's a long period where you were definitely flying high down on the South Coast, synonymous, and then we'll discuss how we all came, to be riding mob deep, so to speak, all around the world. So how did you get involved, Si?
It started for me 15, 16 in Bournemouth, started clubbing. We used to go to Glasshoppers. I don't remember Glasshoppers. Bob, it used to be like a...
Yeah, Martin the Act used to do it, didn't he?
Martin the Act used to do it, and Cass, who ended up being our bongo man in the Manor, used to DJ there, and he used to just sit behind the decks with a big old doobie going, playing like the Jackson Sisters, I Believe in Miracles, and that sort of like urban classic stuff, loads of James Brown and everything. So that really got me into sort of music, going clubbing. Then I sort of fell into like the rave culture. I moved to Portugal actually when I was 19, spent 3 or 4 years over there. messing around. Came home in about 91. We used to go to a club called Stearns, which was a big rave club down on the south coast. Anyway, so downstairs was Rat Pack and all those sort of people. We used to have a middle room, and it was
Heavy B used to play.
and it was an old VW Beetle in this middle room, and they used to have like the Rhythm Doctor, Chris Rhythm Doctor. I don't know if you know him. There was Evil O. There was Eddie Richards. There was Mr. C. Rob Acterson used to play there. Fabio used to play house at the time. He was doing drum and bass, but doing house. They'd play in this middle room, and I always had a mate called Benny. We used to call him Robert Benson, Benny the Mincer, and he'd always be in this Stearns club, didn't he? Well, he'd always have, no, listen, this is serious. This is deadly serious now. Benny the Mincer, he'd always have, what was that? I bet you used to wear all this clobber, Craig. It was all the, what was that? All that stuff, like the men used to wear the tight vests with the...
Vivian Westwood.
No, not Vivian Westwood, but it was... They were like tight black vests, almost see-through and all that. Do you remember all this stuff that was all quite trendy? They used to wear it like used to go to the Limelight Club and places like that in London. And
I'll just hold you there. I did used to wear vests. I used to wear a few seats.
I was the vest man.
Andy is the best.
The brand. It was like Vivian Westwood, but something like that. But he was anyway. So he was always in the middle room. So I'd go up there and have a little boogie with him, just because I was like calming down from the madness downstairs. But I was always a bit of an old soul boy. Like Bob said, they had the soul weekends in Bournemouth, and we used to go down on our bikes and listen outside and stuff. Anyway, cut a long story short. So we used to go to this club. The Stearns got shut down. Mensa, the bloke run it, I think he had a car crash and he died. The Stearns got shut down, and there was this little club in Bognor Regis called Tonic, and it was at the Empire Club. And it was run by Eddie Stenner. And Eddie Stenner, bless him, God rest his soul, has only just recently passed away. And he was really good friends. Craig, you probably know Eddie. He was an old mod as well. And
Yeah, I know Eddie.
He was really good friends with who's the mod guy that's friends with Norman J and them? Eddie Pillar and all that crowd.
Yeah.
But he was into Soulful House, so he had this little club. So he basically books all the DJs from the middle room. So again, it was Fabio, Frankie Shagbones, Rob Acterson used to play there, Femi B from London, and it was the Phil Real crowd that used to do the gardening club in London on a Friday night. I think it used to be.
Friday night it was, yeah.
Bob Jones was resident, I think, as well, wasn't he?
Who was?
Bob Jones, Dr. Bob Jones.
Yeah, he might have had something to do.
He was, yeah.
So anyway,
let me just say, hold that thought. Don't forget, because I don't want to miss these comments. Graham Foster says, "Poor Benny." Lee Wright's watching, says, "You're all looking fine, guys. Looking and sounding nice." And then we get two recommendations. Were you talking about Destroy or Armand Basie?
Armand Basie.
Armand Basie. Yeah. Adam Mills got that.
Well done, Adam. Armand Basie.
And then
I used to wear it all. I used to love Armand Basie.
And then
what's that dodgy shop in Cardiff where all you bloody Welsh people buy your clothes from? There's only one shop, Raffles or something. What's it called?
Hoodies.
No, what's the big shop in the centre of town where they sell all the
flannels.
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 Where they get their gear from.
Right, I'm sorry to talk over you guys. Let me also give a shout out to a guy that I know you're going to be happy he's watching, Mr. Angus.
Tony,
Tony!
Yeah, and a shout out to Black Wax as well. Okay, sorry, Si, carry on, my friend.
Yeah, much love, Tony. He's a very good mate of mine, Mr. Angus. We are very
cracking DJ, cracking DJ.
Mr. Angus, me and Mr. Angus on the musical front. Anyway, so yeah.
Don't talk about France.
So let me go back. So we used to travel from Bournemouth. There was no Soulful House stuff in Bournemouth. We had Madison's, but it wasn't really going at the time. There was a lot of soul and nights like that around. So we used to go to this every week up to Tonic in Bognor, and we'd hear all this house stuff. So I was getting really into it. So I started buying records. Cut a long story short, the first time I saw Bob or met Bob, he was a DJ around the bars in Bournemouth, and he played Alias Follow Me. And we were there, and I remember being there. It was a Thursday night. I can remember it clear as day, Bob. And it was a pub where on the corner, the Artful Dodger. And I remember it, Ali. We're like, "Fucking hell, he's playing it!" Like, and we're in the middle of this pub on a Thursday night, like, "Follow me." Now it's like everyone knows.
Everyone plays it. But can I just interject and say one thing? What name of the artist?
Alias.
Why doesn't anybody pronounce it Alias?
Alias, I don't know. Does it matter?
Because it makes sense, alias, doesn't it?
Alias,
that's a proper word.
Do you know what?
That's a proper word.
Anyway, kind of story short, Bob used to do that. Bob used to do a Thursday night in there, and I remember hearing it. So Bob was playing a lot of R&B stuff, but he was mixing it up with the Soulful House thing, and he was the only DJ that cut me right if I'm wrong. Someone will shoot me down in Bournemouth for saying, no, we were doing it, because they probably were. But that was it. I didn't hear it anywhere else.
There wasn't anybody.
We started doing a weekly night. I hooked up with these other guys called the Kitchen Crew. It all got a bit dodgy. They started getting into some dodgy stuff, bless them. But they set me on the path. I was buying records, and they said, why don't you come and play? You've got some records. I couldn't mix piss, still can't. They said, come and play some records. Yeah, a bit like Bob, I had a good record collection. Started playing these records, and then it took off from there. I managed to get a gig at Tonic at the Empire Club, and he gave me one of my first, when I say a proper club to a proper crowd, I did early doors. And then we started doing Madison's weekly, and then we were doing that every Friday night. Then the Manor started sort of 94, and the Manor was downstairs. Most people on this podcast probably know, or who's listening will know the Manor. Downstairs, it was all banging house, your Judge Jules and Boy George and all that lot. And then we were given the upstairs room, and we became residents there. And then we ran that weekly with all the US guests. We had a lot of, most of the UK guests at the time we had come down. Did you ever play it? I'm sure you played it, Andy, but you don't remember. I'm sure you did, because Seth reckons you did, because he said he got right at it with all the Birmingham boys. He said, Andy's definitely played. I don't think I was there that night, but he swears blind you were there.
What year would it have been?
Any time it shut in 99.
Oh yeah. Early 94, 95 I wouldn't have, but towards 99 definitely would have done,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, and then basically I was running I was promoting the upstairs room and booking all the DJs, and I was given a budget each week to book that, and we had like you say, we had Roger Sanchez play. Kerry Chandler named it as his favourite club in Music Mag at the time and stuff. He wanted to play in the UK. I mean, God, imagine that now. I nicked a cap off him, and me and Seth were a bit of a handful back then, as Craig, we all were, messing around.
So you mentioned Seth. You were synonymous. It was Si and Seth. That was, for how did that partnership come about?
I've been friends with Seth since we were sort of 14 years old, really. And he got into clubbing a little bit later. I was going to Stearns and that. He wasn't going then. And I got him coming to Tonic, the Empire Club, sort of 91 with me, 92. Then he got into it. And then, there was another group, wasn't there? It was Deja Vu. We're doing a little bit of stuff in Bournemouth. Yeah. The guy who run Deja Vu bet Seth to get on the decks, wasn't it? It was a bet involved, wasn't it?
That's right.
And it was a Roger Sanchez night at Bump and Hustle, wasn't it? Do you remember in the show bar? Yeah. And he was off his tits, pissed up, shouting, and that was it. He got the name Seth Sanchez. So we've been friends since we were kids, and we always talk back in the hip hop days of like, he was quite a good break dancer and stuff. So I was going to be like a scratch DJ, and he was going to be a break dancer, but we never got on. So
you took him away from his modelling career, because he's a good looking bugger, isn't he?
I can tell you some stories of my friend Seth and stuff that's gone on in Clubland over the years, but we'll have to keep that separate for another occasion.
Another one.
Camber Sands was quite an interesting story. Do you remember that?
Camber Sands was hilarious. I've got loads. I can't share it, can I?
Well, let me say hi to Cassandra, and also a shout out to Matt Sharp, who says evening.
Sharpie, hello mate.
Okay,
hello, Sharpie.
Okay, sorry. So let's get back to hearing about the progression of Bump and Hustle then, and how you vowed to take over the world. At some point, you started to play a lot at the Southport Weekend. You were resident as well for a long time, weren't you, Bob?
Yeah. From I think 93. I think we first started playing at Southport, so we were there till about sort of 2002, around about that time. So yeah, long time. It was good times then. I think we got quite massive, which was in a sort of short space of time. But it was good in Southport. I think Alex Lowe's and Dave and Michael Powney came down to Bump and Hustle. So we put them up in the poshest hotel in Bournemouth.
Was that the Prince of Wales? Oh no, the Prince wasn't.
No, it was the Royal Bath Hotel.
Okay.
And then we got a message out, because they'd gone back to the hotel. This is before the end of the night, and we got a message back saying that someone had been putting the TVs through the windows. So they'd been out there. They got the tellies and they were throwing them out the windows.
Proper rock and roll.
Proper rock and roll.
The thing with Bump and Hustle, though, Bob, what you say is because back then in the early 90s, people didn't know this music.
No, they didn't know
really
this
that
music.
into it. So Bump and Hustle was an event, right? That all the hang on, choose my words carefully. All the ladies in Bournemouth would get very dressed up to go out in, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
That was it. They had no idea. I mean, obviously it grew over time with the music, but they knew they sort of liked the music, and it was an event to go to. So people would go out and get dressed up to the nines.
They spend a fortune.
Mm-hmm.
They would spend a fortune in clothes.
They had Richmond Classics, like a designer shop in Bournemouth, and everyone was in there on a Saturday, and you see all these girls in their dresses and stuff. And that was one of the. You didn't have to promote to the blokes, because if the girls are going, blokes are going anyway.
Yeah, the men were going.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal, wasn't it? It was really.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. I remember someone came in one night and he said the touts were selling the tickets, right? So £10 ticket to get in. The touts were selling tickets for 75 quid to get into the night.
What venue was it by at this stage?
But this was in the Pavilion.
Okay, so you have to remind me, because I came down to Bournemouth quite a few times to the show bar.
You played the show bar. You played the Pavilion as well.
Okay, so how many events did you do at the BIC? Is that the
BIC,
big? That's the. Did you only do a couple of one-offs? Because that was a huge venue, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've done about 8 in the BIC, because the reason we'd done it in the BIC was because we couldn't get the Pavilion because it was being used for ballroom dancing.
Okay.
And we couldn't use the show bar. So the management at the council said, right, you've got to use the BIC. And I'll tell you what, we shit ourselves when we looked at the size of it, because it was massive.
Big old place. Big old place.
It was a big old place.
It changed. It changed a little bit, didn't it? Because the show bar was probably 600 capacity, wasn't it? Something
Well, it
like
was 600, but we used to put 1,100 in.
Yeah, and it was round. And then the show bar, you had the main room upstairs and then the little room down the steps.
That's right, in the Pavilion, yeah, the R&B room.
I just think sometimes when it went to the BIC, it was then like a big, not like a rave event, but it lost a bit of the. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't quite as warm, was it?
No, it wasn't. And I think when we went to the BIC, what it became was like big room. It was the big room house, because when you think about it, Dunmore at that time was at A&M Records. So you can imagine that the tunes then were like big tunes. You think
AM, PM.
Nato Free, the Heart, Sounds of Blackness, Put a Little Rush on Me. So they were all big club room tunes at that time, which I think was the only thing you could really sort of like get away, because the room was so massive. But it was still vocal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was the good thing about it.
So when was the first? What was the first show that you did at the BIC? Can you remember?
93, actually.
Really, that early?
Yeah, it was our first anniversary. We had Paul Trouble Anderson.
Wow.
He played there, and I think who did we have in the R&B room then? We had Ronnie Harrell in the R&B room.
Mm-hmm. Tell me how the connection with Kev Beadle came about.
Kev Beadle, I've known for years through the jazz scene. I'm a massive jazz lover. Mm-hmm. So I used to play jazz funk and stuff like that. So I've always had I used to go to Dingwall's on a Sunday, which was Giles Peterson's and Patrick Forge's afternoon session. And we used to go to, there was a Horseshoe at Tottenham Court Road, which Paul Murphy used to DJ at. So we used to go to these little places. We used to see Kev there. And there was another place in, I think it was near Camberley. They used to do a lot of jazz funk stuff, a lot of soul. So that's how I met Kevin. And then Kevin we got Kevin down, and he played on the Weekenders as well, playing his jazz funk and jazz fusion.
Because that was the first time I met Kev in Miami, and it was many years after that, getting to talk to him at Southport, that I realised, this is the guy that we were hanging out with in Miami back in the 90s. It was crazy. The time flew by like that,
Yeah, because he's in your video, isn't he? You filmed the Master of the Work party, that brilliant party.
Yeah.
What a party.
Some incredible times. Some of your most memorable events that you had for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. So let's ask you, what are some of the nights that immediately spring to mind?
Oh God.
And we're not PG rated, so just give it in all its glory.
Oh, I can't remember. There's a DJ night when we were DJing in Access All Areas. It was late 90s for I got blank Bob. Charlie Chester.
Charlie Chester, yeah.
And we got up to Wolverhampton and we stayed at Naughty Nails in Shifnal. Me and Seth, was it Shifnal or so up there, just on the edge of Wolverhampton, in Access All Areas. So we're doing the back room with Joe Mills playing our soulful shit. Back then it was vinyl, so you've only got a box of 60 records. Anyway, it's about 2 a.m. Charlie comes running in. Si, fuck, quick, you need to get on the decks in the main room, right? Following Boy George, right? Oakenfold's supposed to play. He hasn't turned up. So, quick, get on the decks. You need to get on the decks. Oh, I can't play. I've got a box of Soulful House. He said, no, you've got to. There's no one else to play. And I was like, drag me in. You can't say no to Charlie Chester. Drags me into the main room. I go and the Boy George is there, absolutely fucking fuming because he's waiting to go and play somewhere else. He's looking at me going, oh, shit, I'm like that. I don't know. I'm just like, Charlie's dragged me. I'm supposed to play in the back. He didn't hear any of it. So I'm queuing up the first record. I've got it +8. I'm spinning it, trying to mix it in. And he just stopped the record. He just stopped the record dead. Took the record off his record, put it in his fucking box, and left the DJ box. And I'm like that. Well, I stood there. And within 5 minutes, well, I think 2 records, the whole main room was empty. Gone. Absolutely gone. The whole lot. Because I had nothing else to play. And it was just like, oh, cheers.
Can you remember the 2 records?
But that was a DJ time. The thing is, at Manor, it was such a blur because we were weekly and Bob would speak. Bob was there most weeks. If we didn't have Bump and Hustle, I'd normally go to Bump and Hustle if it was a Saturday. I'd go down there early and then go up the Manor and carry on. Bob and then would always come up the Manor after because the Manor was one of the only places at the time that had a late license. So we went till 4 and then some nights it went till 6. So it was one of them only places, a bit like the club in Bognor that I was talking about. Everywhere in Bournemouth had 2 o'clock license, because that was the nature of the nightclub shut then. So we always had that late license in the Manor. So I just remember everyone would come up to the little, we had the back of the DJ box was on a balcony. It was called the Gallery. And we had a door to the DJ box. Do you remember, Bob? And I would always have cases of beer in it. Craig could probably vouch for this as well. We always had cases of beer in the DJ box. So every time when you were DJing, you always had people fucking, the door was going out. And all the time people coming in having beers. This little tiny DJ box was always rammed full of people. But, Tony Angus, if he's still watching, he was always there, back nicking beers and stuff. I remember it. And we had such a good little atmosphere in that thing. I can't... A story will come to me in a minute that'll make you really laugh.
Just getting a message from John Langford who says Pete Heller at the Manor, legendary night.
Pete Heller, yeah. So Pete Heller is a Tottenham fan. Right. So John's right. So John used to be the resident DJ downstairs in the Manor, and John still runs the Manor nights that we do. We do a yearly event, which we haven't done for kind of. We do like a reunion gig. We have Ramplin play. We had Grant Nelson play last time. So John. Hello, good evening, John. He does it downstairs. So, Pete Eller played. So, me and Seth are big Arsenal fans, as a lot of people know. So, Pete Eller being a Tottenham fan, he just released Big Love. And it was just breaking and stuff like that. He'd only had about 6 or 7 copies, I think. Anyway, he came in the DJ box and we give him so much stick. Like, in the end, he gave in, because that being a Tottenham fan, and we had Arsenal flags up. And it just, if you're not into your football, you wouldn't appreciate it. But he got so much stick. Like, I managed to badger him so much, he gave me a copy. A Big Love. So I was like over the moon. It was like that was it. And I badgered Ramplin to give me a test pressing of, the Salida, music is the answer. The Mafia the tune. He had that on test pressing. I was like, oh, I love it. And he had 2 copies and he gave me one. I was like, it's great. That
I've got great.
To intimidate them.
Yeah, definitely.
Because me and Seth are like, we're big, Seth's bigger than me, but we're big old units.
Units. I was going to say units. I've got a funny story from Miami at one of the open air parties. I can't remember the name of the party, but Pete Heller was DJing, just breaking Big Love, and the heavens opened, and we were all dancing in the rain. One of those moments that you just had to experience. It was absolutely phenomenal. So Craig, you're sitting there with a huge grin on your face, listening to all of these stories. How did you hook up with these two? Is it reprobates? Reprobates with a P. Reprobates. How did you hook up with these?
The first time I met Bob was, if I'm right, was Miami Bob.
No, you played for us before Miami.
Right, so the first time I met Bob, I played at Bump and Hustle.
That's right, at the Pavilion. At the
Yeah,
pavilion.
I can remember playing a show back. I think I actually played the big, one of the big.
You did.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time, because I remember the first time you sent a CD through. It was either a CD or it might have been a tape.
Yeah.
And
so going back to in the day, everybody, promoting ourselves, obviously, I knew Bump and Hustle was the place where, on the South Coast, it was by the seaside. It would have been a nice little trip, nice little holiday, and they played the most amazing Soulful House and had guests that at the time, because you'd started, I didn't start LAMERICA until 98. July 98 was LAMERICA, but I was doing, that backroom scenario from 1990 to 1997. Just really...
Yeah, because you were when you're doing Swansea.
Yeah, we did the Escape.
Time flies, wasn't it?
Time flies, and we set the Escape up in Swansea. And I think we were just sending tapes and CDs to everybody because we didn't really want to play in those kind of clubs because they were just the back rooms. Your Garage Cities, your Bump and Hustles, the Manor, they were like, and, Money Pennies in Birmingham, they were premium nights because even then you were taking out full page adverts in Mixmag, DJ magazine, and just seeing everybody's names on those magazines, it was like, I've got to have a piece of that because surely they're playing the same music as me and I'm not that bad. I'm all right. When you actually listen to some of those CDs and tapes I actually sent out, you think, Jesus Christ, did they have bells in their ears when they were listening to them? They actually say, come and have a go, like, you must have been short or something. But yeah, I remember playing, and I can't remember who the live PA was. I think it was the Michael Watford night.
Yeah, it was,
I'm sure it was Michael Watford. And it was the first time I'd ever heard someone whose music I'd been playing and loving live and thinking, Jesus Christ, that he sounds like it's a record. There's no way he's live. And then you go backstage and you think, he's fucking singing live. This fella is so amazing. It's unbelievable. And I was very, very fortunate. And I'm so thankful that you did accept us to come and play. And then reciprocally then, you obviously came and played the LAMERICA.
LAMERICA, that's right.
For the very first time in 98. And I was literally looking through the flyers the other day, actually, looking at all the different names of all the guys that we've all sort of grown up with. Not grown up in age, because I'm obviously a lot younger than you lot, but as in grown up through the music industry. Do you know what I mean? And
blossomed.
It was I probably played in Bump and Hustle. It must have been 94, 95.
Yeah, 94, 95, yeah.
And then we then came to the Manor then, probably. It must have been not far around that time, 96, 97 maybe.
Were you talking... Carry on, sorry.
No, what I was going to say was, I've had a little bit of reflection since Andy sort of said about coming on and that, thinking about it. We do ourselves a disservice because as the music that we played, I said this before we joined this live call, I used to eat, breathe shit Soulful House music. It was like a religion to me. I was there in the record shops first thing in the morning. Bob was. I was so into it. And I am so into it now, but I've got other stuff in my life and stuff. Yeah. But back then in my 20s and that, it was all I did. And there are people I know that are still out there that are just so that into it still, which is great, and I respect them for it. But my life is I'm doing other bits and bobs. But we used to warm up, and that was the biggest thing. I know everyone's talks about the warm up DJ, but I was so fucking anal. I would never ever play a big tune, or if there was, because I knew he was playing after me, I would never do it. We used to DJ for in a club, another club on the South Coast, and I won't name any names, but me and Steph used to go there and guest there. And we used to play from 12 till 2, and you can guarantee from 11:50 till 12 o'clock, the DJ on before us would play 8 or 9 of the biggest tracks that we were going to play later, because there was always a few tracks, and they'd all get hammered then, and I'd have to go on afterwards like, okay, when we were good enough at the time, I like to think it was, to get ourselves out of that situation, take it down and take it back up. But I was listening to Mark Hogg, up in Manchester, who I would class as one of our little soulful team. Yeah, over lockdown, we were on the piss like you do, drinking drinks, and he posted a thing up. I thought, I listened to that, and I listened to it, and I thought it was so good, and I thought to myself, they were really good. I used to trust Craig because I was really anal about who I had upstairs in the Manor. I was really religiously. I remember I threw a DJ off once because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing, and I was really passionate about it. And I trusted Craig and Dave when they came down because they were that good. Like you, Andy, I would have trusted you. You know, obviously you're another level above us. Bob and John used to come and play upstairs and that. But there was that. We were really, really good at what we did because we were so into it. And I think we laugh about the good times, about us all going on the piss and having a jolly up and all this stuff. But now I look back and think, actually, for all the messing around and larking about, me and Seth intimidating people, underneath it all, I was actually quite good at what I did. I was really into it, and I could make people dance.
I think the whole
that's a
the
really
whole crew.
interesting point, especially the three of us all having our own nights and playing at 9 o'clock when no one's on the dance floor.
Yeah.
But not stressing about the fact that no one's there, no one's in. As a promoter, you're thinking, come on, hurry up, get in. But being able to enjoy playing the music that you loved and expressing yourself through music that nobody else knew. Going back to the original chat that we had, me, Andy and Mark, and just teasing people like we all experienced ourselves as punters in Miami when the likes of Louis, Kenny, Tony, all of those boys, Frankie, playing music we've never heard and breaking it. We were all collectively responsible. And I'm sure the shows that go out every 2 weeks now across the UK will demonstrate that we were all instrumental in giving access to music that people...
I think that'll give me the perfect opportunity to chime in with a name that I need to bring up right now. Before I do, let me say hi to the Iceman Thomas. Nice to see you. Someone mentions Errol Jones as well. Hiya, Errol. Ruben is here. He says, good evening, Si.
Hello, boy. How are you, son? He's just got his first set of decks, so he's learning.
Big up, Ruben. Let us hear a demo. We'll be happy to point you in the right direction. We know one or two people. Also, hi to Zara, to Angela, Mr. Featherstone, Neil Davison again. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. You talk about being influential, taste making, breaking music. Somebody who I had to bring up because he was the person that introduced me to you, Bob, Mr. Patrick Smooth.
Patrick, what a DJ.
I mean, come on. I very vocal in my praise of Patrick. He took me under his wing, so to speak. He was someone that I looked up to. I followed his musical taste. He influenced me with the music that he played, and then he was ahead of me, and then we became sort of like a duo for a time, and then eventually he would take me over to Miami. But way before Miami, he invited me to come down and see him play at Bump and Hustle, and I remember driving down with him, and he was driving, and we came down quite a few times. He'd take a turn to do the tapes for the journey. Then the next time I'd do the tape, always me sitting there with the papers in the passenger seat. I'm sure you can imagine what I was doing. But yeah, Patrick, bad boy DJ, and he used to smash Bournemouth to pieces, didn't he?
I'll tell you how I heard about Patrick was through Paul Warren.
Okay.
Little Paul Warren. I remember Paul
Big
Warren.
up Paul at Release the Groove.
Only tail in the business.
Yeah. Well, Paul Warren, because I remember because he was done as his best mate when they used to work at some record shop in Rayners Lane. And Paul used to go on to me, he'd go, Bob, you've got to book Patrick Smooth, and after about sort of 5 or 6 joints, you go, yeah, man, I'll go and book him. So that's how I booked Patrick. I remember listening to him, and, when you just go, you're like there, you've had a few beers in those days, I'll be on the Jack Daniels, and you suddenly pop your head up and go, fucking hell, what's going on there? But that was Pat. He was absolutely brilliant in between about 30,000 spliffs.
There was a lot of, at that time, Bob, wasn't there? There were so many great UK
DJs.
People doing this thing. And I never met Lee properly before, And I had to take, one of his tapes came down from Hard Times years ago that we had and stuff like that. So, and Patrick, I'm sure it might have been Patrick that played at the Manor then, because I know Patrick's played the Manor. I'm sure he did.
Yeah, because I remember Lee Wright's another one from Back to Basics. Yeah, when he was there.
There was it's funny. But what I was going to say, we were talking about the old DJ thing is a lot. We were I know what happened in the Manor, and I heard Craig touch this on the last podcast. The last conversation you had was that we were taking it to people that didn't really know the music. They'd come in on a Saturday night. they'd be in the Manor. They were downstairs into Banging Trance, and they were in this sort of rave era thing. And they'd sort of come upstairs in our room. We had a hard core of people that were really into it. But then they'd come upstairs and think, oh, I quite like this. And then they were getting into it. And then people were actually preferring coming upstairs than going downstairs. They moved into it. And I think Craig shared that story, didn't you, with your place? That, you know, they come in on a Saturday night.
And I think going on from that, because I think we've got through that, Andy's slightly different with his, because yours was more of an after hours thing, how you got all your thing together, didn't you? And I was, you know, playing at 9 o'clock, playing music that nobody else wanted to hear, really warming up for all these guys. And my point I'm trying to make is when you guys then came and played, especially for me in LAMERICA, I was thinking, Jesus Christ, I've been paying like $5,000 for these guys to come and do what my mates can do with their eyes shut.
Yeah.
Because you guys, and that's every one of you, every single one of you that came to LAMERICA over the years, honestly, and I'm not blowing smoke up your asses, did a better job than virtually every other superstar guest, if you want to call them superstars, because we were so passionate. You know, I used to have, even going back to Louis Vega, bless him, when Ollie was managing him, he said to me, send us the 20 biggest records in LAMERICA. And I'm like, really? Come on. You know, I'm booking you because you're Louis Vega. I can play the 20 big records. I could get anybody. So when you guys came, and I'm hoping it was a sort of an extension of what you guys had created in your own backyard, that you were just able and free to just play exactly as you wanted, what you wanted to do, because you knew exactly what was expected. And I think a lot of the big DJs for a long time got caught up in, you know, like when you say, I moved to a big venue called Liquid, which was 2,000 capacity from the Emporium, which was officially 300. But we used to put 1,100 in there. But you think, Jesus Christ, 2,000 capacity, it's going to have to be big room stuff. Yeah. But I play for 3 hours from 9 till 11, or I play 11 till 1 and then have guests on. And I play exactly what I wanted to play without any kind of pressure from anybody, whether there was one person on the dance floor or 2,000. Over a period of time,
but you know how to build the night, Craig. You did.
People just think, do you know what? This I like quite. It's not really what I like, but actually, the way it's put together is I quite like it. And like you said, they go from big room raves to the back room where we were playing to then thinking, well, actually, now I really want to wear a nice dress or a nice Armand Bassey top and see-through chaps and come into the nice Soulful House because it was less stressful and a bit cooler. And, you know, look, I got so many lovely stories from over the years that people have actually found partners in our nights, you know, because it was just a lovely environment, I suppose. A lot of the early.
It was the building of the night, wasn't it? It was like bumping us. I remember, and your night. It was, and it's the way you build the night. Now, you know, not now. I shouldn't say now, but I've had a lot of DJs that they'll just play like real noodly Soulful House all night, and it doesn't really go anywhere. It's just that same vocal after vocal, which is great where it sits. But sometimes I get a bit bored of it, and I'm like, yeah, it sits in a place in a genre, but. Yeah. We'd have to play to those people. So it would. You couldn't just bang it out early doors and everyone go, man. We always took people on a journey and it built, always. And that's what, then when the guest came on, whoever it may be, hopefully we booked a good enough guest to then make that room go mental for those last 2 hours.
But there was so many factors around that to do with when the bars were closing, and so people had to be in the club. You'd have people queuing up to get into the club at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, because bars and clubs, you know, late night bars were going to be, not late night bars, normal bars and normal pubs were going to be kicking out, so you'd want to get into the club first. And if you only had a small capacity, you needed to get in there before it locked out. And then slowly, as time progressed, you'd be looking at your clock at 12:30. When are the people coming in? Where are they? You know, and then but I'm talking about after the 2000s kind of thing, once the bubble had burst, so to speak. And when we talk about the bubble bursting, so let's go back to the heyday of Bump and Hustle, Bob. Some of the incredible nights that you had, that you were flying high. You was like you were untouchable. Did you ever take any risks that you didn't think were going to work and they did work?
Yeah.
Unlike
Jam.
Craig's Bugs in the Attic.
No, Alistair Whitehead.
Right.
Yeah, because I remember we put on Alistair Whitehead, and I remember quite a few of the Soulful heads were going, well, he's not, he don't play Soulful House. So, because you see him on Renaissance and stuff like that. But he was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Great DJ, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a brilliant DJ. But he played big room vocal cuts, didn't he? So he was a really good DJ. Tough Jam was another one. I'd put on Tough Jam in the middle of at the Bic to do their UK garage thing in between Rob Atkinson and Simon Dunmore. I don't think Simon was too happy about it, but it went really well.
Can I just ask, I know, Andy, you touched on a bit of, you sort of veered left onto the UK garage side of things, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And started playing a bit. Did you ever do any of it, Bob, with Bump and Hustle? As, I did Tough Jam, same as you, Rosie Gaines, massive record, big crossover kind of thing. But I sort of, at LAMERICA, I completely distanced myself from UK garage because it was a genre that I've never seen blow up so quickly over such a short space of time, that consumed big room house really in South Wales, and it just attracted too much negative attention for me in South Wales with licensing and drama that I steered away from. I didn't even play it, wasn't interested. But I know a lot of the big Soulful House DJs, Bobby and Steve, to name Grant Nelson, Joey Mafia, their sort of sound sort of meandered between the two. Did you touch on that at all? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did. I mean, we've done a couple of nights where I had sort of Danny Foster, Booker, and Spoonie, because all three of them crossed over between the Soulful House and the UK Garage. So it worked. So I never fully went down that UK Garage side. I've always sort of like, if I was going to book any DJs, I wanted them, they've got to be able to cross over between the two.
Yeah, of course. So instead of booking the entire dream team, you'd stick Spoonie on, who was
Just
R&B, Soulful House,
Yeah.
proper DJ.
Proper DJ.
Mixed it all up a little bit. Cool.
Yeah.
Going back to the Tonic Club that I talked about in the early 91, 92, Timmy Magic used to play there a lot. So I knew Timmy really well. So we used to book Timmy for Madison's 92, 93, he was playing house at the time. And remember, Bob, 200 quid. I remember picking him up, we'd pick him up from the train station, and he'd come down in the beaten up old Fiesta, Timmy Magic. And then, like you just said, it blew up so quick. Yeah. I remember, so we were crossing over a little bit, me and Seth playing a bit of the bigger, when it first come out, Paul Farris was pushing a bit of it out of Uptown Records, and he was playing a bit. I remember Paul Harris was playing, I can't remember some of the big early track. What was the big one with Ice Cream Records, the big one?
R.I.P. Double 99. Did you just say Paul Harris or Paul Farris?
Paul Farris.
Okay.
Paul Farris.
Right.
Paul Farris from Uptown. He used to be running Uptown Records. Paul Farris obviously lives in Australia now. He played for us and you, Bob, didn't he, quite a bit? Yeah. And then we booked Spoonie one night, and then by the time Spoonie played, it had gone, like just you said, it blew up really quick, and it had just gone too far for me. And Spoonie played in the Manor, and I was like, that's it, I'm not having this, I can't have it anymore. No disrespect to the sound, but it just wasn't what we were about in the Manor. It was the Twice as Nice thing was really blowing up in London.
Well, it's funny you say that. We're going to be talking to Spoonie in a couple of weeks, Craig.
Go on, Spoonie.
Yeah, he's a Liverpool fan as well. But it just, fantastic DJ, and they really blew up. But it just went that too far for me then, and it was like, hang on a minute, I've got to rein this back. And I think we had Phil Asher, God rest his soul, we did a Restless Soul night with him and Luke McCarthy, and it was the night Princess Diana died. Because I remember me and Phil being downstairs, Luke was playing upstairs, we were sat in the office like watching it unfold, and it was just like, wow, mental. That was a different one. I think he was like a week or two, was he after Spoonie, or we'd had another UK garage type thing, and it was just such a different, it was too far. Yeah. And I didn't want everyone starting playing, coming up and saying, can you have more of that, more of that, more of that?
Exactly, I was afraid of that myself. But you played a bit of it, didn't you, Anne? Didn't you go down that road?
I did. Well, I used to love doing the soulful clubs, and then with my Sunday night residency that I used to do at Marco's, I was finding myself playing more and more of the bumpy sound, the Grant Nelson sound. So, and then the Americans were starting to bring out tunes like that. Disciple was playing, making tunes like that he was doing with Grant and so on. So there was that UK influenced US sound. So you mentioned Paul Warren, actually. Funny story, I used to go down with Patrick in his car to Release the Groove all the time, and I remember saying to Paul, he was pulling all these tunes out for me, and I saying, yeah, they're cool, but I want some more UK kind of sounding stuff. And he like turned his nose up at me and he went, what, you mean like some Sasha? And I went, no. I said, the UK stuff, trust me, it's going to be huge. And then I always think back to that because I remember that vividly, just when it broke. And I was one of the only DJs who could go and play, for example, at Garage City one Saturday night, and then 2 weeks later I'd be playing at Twice as Nice, playing like authentic UK garage. There wasn't anybody else that was allowed to do that, if that allowed's the right word.
Yeah, no, that's true. I remember that, Andy. Yeah, that is true. You were one of the only ones sort of really chopping and changing. Mac Jam always played at the Manor, but he would always play more soulful.
Mm-hmm.
But sped up.
Yeah, I love the sound, and I never ever turned my back on the Soulful House sound. And then what happened with the UK scene very quickly, there was a few years when it was really great and the momentum took hold, and I had a few residencies, and then just around the turn of the 2000, I remember I had a Friday night residency, and it got to that point it was just a little bit too urban for me, and unless you were playing the obvious same box of records, because I was still playing vinyl then, the people were just standing there looking at me saying, you know, like, when's he going to play Monster Boy? And I just put my records in the box, and I said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore, I can't stand it. And then I stopped playing UK garage in around about 2001, because the way the sound had gone with the MCs and the crews.
It got very poppy as well, didn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
But
you
because,
got,
like I said, it got really, really big really quickly. And they were underground hits in London because it was all about that Sunday scene in London, wasn't it? And then very quickly, those tracks like Monster Boy and all that were #1 best-selling bloody singles, selling 500,000 copies.
But that was 5-6 years after when it really took hold. But I always remember coming to Cardiff, going down to Bournemouth, because you had such big commercial scenes down there away from your own venues, and it was a typical Saturday night. Beer monsters swilling, and you'd hear that music in all of the other places. But every now and again, I'm sure you guys must have had to cater, and even though you say you haven't, Craig, every now and again you must have found yourself wavering down a path and thinking, this crowd isn't really what I want, this sound isn't where I envisaged us going. Is that true? I know you can relate to that, Bob.
Yeah, especially when America got to the big club and it was 2,000 people, and there was this sort of, is that going to be enough? Is Paul Trouble Anderson going to be enough to do that? No, okay, well, let's put Paul Trouble Anderson on with Dave Lee, Joey Negro. Is that going to be enough? Oh, maybe that's okay, but I've done that now. So what's next? And, I'm a promoter. I wanted to make money as well as supply my trade. So then in my head, I'm thinking the Emporium's my underground venue where I'll put anybody on. And, some of the best nights like I've had, Cy and Seth, Bob and John, yourself, Patrick, the Slamming Boys. Do you remember Lewis Dean used to work for Slip and Slide?
Yeah.
Fantastic man, right? He put more people, and you did, in that club than the likes of Louis, Roger Sanchez and all of them. Because we were in a position at that time, riding the crest of a wave, where we could put anybody on. And that's no disrespect to you guys. I put you on because I knew exactly what you were going to give my crowd, and they would lap it up. But then when it got to me putting on the big bank holidays and the all-nighters in Liquid, there was pressure for me to come with the big guns. Eric Murillo. I put him on.
But he was a brilliant DJ at the time, though. He was a brilliant DJ.
He was brilliant, wasn't he? When we used to go to the Subliminal parties in Miami, and we'd all be desperately trying to get his little Subliminal record bags, those records, like Ministers, the Funk, Believe, and all, that was the time on it. But for me, that was taking a chance because it was going sort of next level. Dennis Ferrer, maybe a little bit
that early,
verging on the edge of toughness, really. That was as tough as we. And then I just went, you know what? Let's put Carl Cox on. Come on, let's go all out.
I remember you saying that before.
Tell the Carl Cox story. Can I? Now we're talking about Carl Cox.
Go for it.
We need a funny story to interject. She's all getting too serious, isn't it?
Do it.
we're in Miami, obviously, because that's where we used to go for the music conference and stuff. I don't know if it you that. No, it was me and Bob. Anyway, we walked in this bar. We were going to meet someone, weren't we, Bob? It was about 7 o'clock in the evening, and we were getting ready to go out, so whatever. Let's go and have a drink. So we walked in this like hotel lobby. We walk in the bar. And we sit there. Anyway, these two, you know what the Americans are like, good old Americans, bless them. These two American lads come up to us and they're like, hey, Carl, can I buy you a drink? And I've looked at Bob and I'm like, the fuck's going on here, Bob? Do they know you? Bob's looking at me and he said, hey, yeah, we love your music, man. We've been following you for ages. And I've twigged, Bob's twigged. We've looked at each other. Bob said, yeah, I'll have a large, what do you want, Si? Yeah, I'll have a large vodka cup of a beer and I'll have a large beer. Thanks, guys. And that was it. They came over with this big tray of drinks, didn't they? I said, he's got to play in a minute, so we just need a bit of space, guys. Is that all right? Do you remember, Bob? I thought if they sit down with us, they're going to rumble us. Do you know what I mean? So let's just play this cool and get away from Bob, because if you sit too close, no, it's not Carl Cox. And they thought he was Carl Cox, and he bought us his round of drinks. And then they're looking over. Do you remember? We sat there drinking them. They kept looking over and like. Yeah, Bob
Real on that, right?
Bob said, "Go like that, playing the part." And I just thought,
they never took a photograph with you, did they?
Oh, brilliant! I don't know if they did. I can't
imagine if they did.
I can't remember.
But we didn't hang around that long, if I remember rightly. Did we?
We down those drinks and that's it. It was off.
So let's talk.
Imagine in some alternate universe now with those two lads.
Imagine,
in America,
let's talk about Miami then, because we brought it up. It's where we all really deeply got connected. We used to go over there mid-May, early May, spring break, March. Okay, yeah. Late, the end of March, spring, just at the beginning of spring break, Winter Music Conference. I myself started going in '97, and all of the UK soulful fraternity used to go out there. Incredible times, and there's so many stories, so many tales, so many parties, highlights, memories of what you used to do and what you used to look forward to.
There was the 1 potato, 2 potato night. Craig, do you remember that? With Steve Soul Middleton.
Steve Soul Middleton.
Then blokes would go, what are you doing? He said, we're playing a game. And we were all doing 1 potato, 2 potato in this back of this nightclub, and these Americans were looking at us, weren't they?
Some of the stories are just ridiculous, really. I mean, for me, the Clarion Suites, when we all stayed in the Clarion Suites, we were all walking.
Pissed down with rain.
Huh?
Pissed down with rain.
Exactly. And we're walking up Collins Avenue like a 30-strong football hooligan mob, just walking, taking over. And fair play to Bobby and Steve. What was the lady that they sorted out magic sessions with?
Bird. Was it Bird?
No, Bird sorted everybody out.
We turned up at that magic sessions night. I said this earlier on. We turned up there mob-handed.
30 of us, at least.
All at the door, and they're like, are you all on the guest list? And fair play, Bobby and Steve was like that, and then we were all down there, weren't we? We got in there, and it was a sweat pit. Do you remember?
Every one of us, yeah.
It was absolutely mental. That was a really good night, that was. That was Dimitri upstairs, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he played, I'll never forget it, Nelly, It's Getting Hot in Here. And you know when you hear a record and you think that's a moment in time, the sweat was running down the walls, coming off the ceiling in that top back room, and he just played it. I just thought, that's, when you're always trying to find your own DJ moment. I played this particular, it was one of them. He played that. We'd obviously drank a lot as well, so we were quite enthusiastic about the goings on, and I just remember thinking, Jesus Christ, what a moment this is.
For me, it's a funny thing about Dimitri, though, because every time I've heard him here, and he's been over and played, I think he's been pants compared to what he was in America. Those magic sessions, when he used to play in that room was his own, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. He was wicked.
Yeah, brilliant.
Did you ever get to do parties out there, Bob?
No, I never did do a party out there. I never ever thought about it either, because we used to have so much fun. I thought to myself, why would I want to put a party on when I want to be at the party?
Yeah. I mean, the Bobby and Steve on the beach, Soul on the Beach at the Clevelander. I mean, that was just legendary.
That was legendary.
I remember we played inside. I think I followed you, Andy.
Yeah,
we played inside, didn't
you? In the diner bit on the side. Yeah,
like in the side. Wasn't it? I think I went on after you. I remember going on. I remember we had the T-shirts with our names on it. Do you remember?
That's it.
Yeah. God, I remember that. Yeah, that was funny. Another story about Bob. Do you remember we were over there with work? And when we were working for Cartel, and then we'd gone out for dinner with Steve. Do you remember? And he's taking this dinner, and we sat in the what's the main drag up through there? All the shops and that are
Washington.
Where?
Washington.
Lincoln Avenue, is it, or Washington?
Yeah,
Washington.
all the plants and stuff, real posh restaurants. So we sat there, we're having dinner, and you know, what do you want to have? And I was like, you know, away and eat this bloke's paying. I thought, oh, I'll have a. But I looked on the menu. I'll have halfway down. I'll have burger and chips or something. You know, not too expensive. Bob, straight in. I'll have lobster and steak. Do you remember? I was like. Oh, wish I had fucking steak now. It's brilliant. Oh, funny.
Those Miami times, I always think about them. Remember they used to have the parties in Wendy's in the morning?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Nervous parties at Wendy's.
Nervous parties.
And what was the place? Opium Gardens?
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, that's Masters at Work ones.
That lasted the work party, because I never really, I actually went to Body and Soul in '99 in New York, but Miami was before that. And I remember it was the first place I'd really seen all the dancers and that came down for the Master at Work dues and all that, you know, all the New York and all that. They were all there, weren't they, dancing and stuff. And one of them had given Seth something, God knows what it was, and he was absolutely off his trolley. They'd given him something, and he was there getting down, and he freaked out. He lost it for a little bit. But the music was just, for me, it was just so good. It was so good. I just stood there in the sunshine, and then they did the Elements of Life, didn't they, 1 year live? You remember that? It was just
Jodie Watley. It was Roy Ayers. We've seen them all.
That was a Death Mix party. One of them. No, it was Masters at Work in conjunction with Judy Weinstein at Death. I remember Judy, because it's on the video. The video on my YouTube.
That was at the Opium Garden.
That was at the Opium.
Did he?
And then the other one was the Eureka Soul album launch party. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Or maybe that's what I'm talking. Maybe that's what I'm thinking about then.
Andy, the one you're talking about, Ronnie Size played, didn't he? The one you filmed.
I don't remember Ronnie. I remember India and Roy Ayers doing Runaway there, and I was just
lost. That's where they had the ladies rolling the proper cigars on their legs.
Yeah.
By the side of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you remember Nicky Beach? It pissed in the rain and had the little teepee tent.
Yeah. That was the one. On that video, Alex Lowe's has got a condom on his head. He blew a condom.
I remember that.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah.
Take a look on my YouTube and scroll down. There's a video.
It's probably when you post the link of this up, share that video, because when we're talking about the most influential music producers for Soulful House and inspirational singers doing a live album launch party that probably changed the shape of their career and launched a number of other careers.
You're right.
Just out of a conversation in Charles Peterson's house, because he was too busy watching the Arsenal game when he was trying to sign him up as a project to do something for Talking Loud, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's right.
Everyone used to rant about the Tenaglia party. Do you remember? And that was the big thing. Everyone went there, but we never bothered, did we?
I only went once.
I mean, everyone talks about. I always think we should have gone, because you always hear about Uncle Chester and everyone talk about, and Mark Wilkinson, remember all his Tenaglia parties and all them guys, you know, Terry Farley and everyone. They always talked about Tenaglia parties, but we never went. Never went. We were just going to we were in our little group again. It was just
we went to all the same parties. Magic Sessions was the highlight. Masters of Work party. Sulfuric party. Death Mix party. Subliminal, that was always a big party, wasn't it?
We went to a daytime pool party with John Cutler played, and I can't remember who put it on, whether it was Faith or not. I can't remember. And that was when It's Yours had just come out, and he played it. That was a really good little party. But
he probably did it. It was probably a Distant Music party because that was the second single off the label, wasn't it? Distant Music originally came from.
No, Distant Music, I remember. Yeah. Oh, it's funny. But I mean, that was all alcohol related.
So we're talking about regaling all of these stories, representing the South Coast. So I think it would only be fair, and we still got a while to go yet. We're not wrapping up, but so tell us some of the great DJs you've had through your doors, either as residents, Bob, or regular DJs down the years. I mean, we got Tony with us. Who was the other Tony that used to play with Angus?
Where Tony Angus and Jay Raffett.
Jay, stop,
Yeah,
not
Jay.
the other Tony. Tony and
ATFC.
Jay. When you came up, do you remember we did the radio show in
Yeah. That was a funny session on that radio.
Well, every session we have together is incredible.
Yeah,
so, okay, I
Tough
interrupted you.
joke.
Go on, carry on. Tell us all of the names.
Yeah, Bedmaster at Work.
No, I mean the South,
Camacho.
the South Coast guys. We need to give credit to.
Oh, South Coast.
To your boys and girls down there.
To our boys, Science Seth, ATFC when he was here, Tony and Jay. They were sort of like the mainstays, really. When you actually look for sort of like Soulful House, or even to sort of like Jay and Tony Angus with the R&B, you know, these were the people that were good on. You could just stick on a deck, it's like Craig say, and just leave them, and you know the nights be okay. You know, you just go off, get drunk, or dance on the floor. So I think they're really, really influential. I always remember a comment about Tony Angus from Trevor Nelson saying he's the best resident DJ he has ever heard.
Nice.
I remember Dunmore making that comment as well about Angus. He's like an unsung hero, you know. And the same as ATFC. You know, ATFC's got skills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he was another one. So they were like the mainstays. And outside of that, there's another guy which we were talking about, which is Groover Washington from Portsmouth, who was very influential. There's another one from Tonic. He used to do his night called Southern Exposure, which
he's still DJ, and he's still playing for Groove Odyssey and stuff now.
Yeah, he still plays for Groove Odyssey, and he does his classic stuff, doesn't he, with Graham Park and Lisa Loud and whatever, all those.
There was Martin Metcalf
got
in Portsmouth as well. Martin
Metcalf, Kindergarten.
Nicky Kingston from Kindergarten. They did Friday nights up there. It was almost like it stopped at Bournemouth, because I live in Devon now. Once you go sort of the other side of Bournemouth, there's no soulful scene. There's a little bit in Exeter, Bob. No soulful house. I know you know a couple of old soul boys in Exeter, but down this way, it is like
I'm just laughing. Steve Reed says DJ Salad. I'm sure. I remember actually Mark and Bob telling a story about that at Vocal Booth one time. Shout out to Angela. Nice to have you with us, by the way.
Yeah.
Carry on, Si. I interrupted you, Si.
What were the big tunes that you can remember, Bob, that, you know, when you hear played by either whether you played it, John played it, or any of the guests that you just thought, you know what, that's what this is all about. This sort of sums up Bump and Hustle.
Sounds of Blackness, Steve Silk Hurley, you know, The Harder They Are, Bigger They Fall. That was a massive tune. Deliver Me.
Oh.
Deliver
project, yeah.
You know, Deliver Me. I remember it being an early night in the pavilion, and it must have been around about 10 o'clock, and the floor was, Iden had played Deliver Me, and the floor was just full of women singing that song.
Yeah.
And you know, when you think about that, and I've just listened to it, and you think, what a song that is.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the greatest vocal records out. You know, people don't give it, I don't think people give it so much credit. They all go on about, you know, Finally or stuff like that. But Deliver Me was such a massive, massive record.
That whole sulfuric thing and sound really was
Brilliant.
Probably the catalyst that projected LAMERICA where we were to the masses, and just people just got it because they weren't fast, but they were peak time house soulful vocal anthems, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big anthems.
They don't get as much airtime as the, you know, your Finallys, your John Cutler, It's Yours, and all of that, which we've all got a place for. But that sulfuric sound, Brian Tappert, those listening and watching that have got an interest in Soulful House will know Brian Tappert's now gone
Jazz and Groove
things with Track Source, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jazz and Groove and everything. And they just created that sound that just sort of, it just encapsulated everything I loved about Soulful House music, if I'm honest with you. So you knew anywhere you went in the country, whether it was Bump and Hustle, the Manor, playing in Birmingham, you just hoped the guy playing before you didn't play it
because you wanted to play it.
Yeah, that's right.
You could play it. Or if he had played it, you'd be like, right, I'm going to
You
play
know
the
what I
fucking
find, though?
instrumental, I'm going to play the dub, and then I'm going to play the vocal in an hour's time, you know?
Craig, do you know what I found though? Now I'm so fucking fussy, and it made me really fussy with going out. And it's one reason why I sort of stopped playing, because it was all the bit like Andy. It was just bars. We had Clue after as it came to an end. We had a bar that was really cool, and then it went downhill with everyone saying, "Can you play this and can you play that?" And I lost it. And I was a bit like, and now I'm so like. I hear DJs, and I find it not boring. Not all of our genre. I'm talking generally. If I go out and stuff, I'm so. Because I want to hear that music and I want to hear it played well, which everyone on this podcast, chat, whatever, can do. And all the other guests Andy's going to get on, we're all real capable of. You just can't hear it anywhere. I know it's changing times and stuff like that, you know. My daughter's really into the defected sound. She's really into the Sonny Fodera, the slightly tougher stuff. I can listen to it, but it doesn't float my boat. I love the glitterbox thing. I know Andy picked up on the glitterbox thing, saying on the when you were interviewing Wes and said, you know, was it a bit staged and stuff? I got really into it because I quite enjoy the mix of the disco, the old school, and a bit of the new school. I quite like it, but I don't think there's much I could go out. It's got me a little bit anal with my music, which ruins it.
The problem is because there's so much emotions lacking from the music now. It was more than it was always about the music. Let's not forget that fact. But yet there was so much more that compounded the emotion of hearing that track, the people you were with, the drink you were drinking, the people around you, the beautiful women in front of you in the nice dresses, everything about it, that when you listen to that track, it transports you back to those memories. We don't have those associations anymore with this new music. But if you do listen to some of these new tracks that they're putting out, just a name I'll grab out of thin air, Spen, for example, if you listen to his new album, it's incredible, but it's not going to stand the test of time to music we were listening to 25 years ago when we were off our tits in a club.
I think when it comes to that Spen album, I think the one that will be played, which is crossover, especially for women, is something is the cover of the Maxwell tune. Because it's such a vocal tune, and the R&B heads all know it. They love it. So it's one of those tunes you could drop in and you'll get people singing. I think it's one of the only ones I've heard for some time that is that.
I still like, now I'm still buying records on Traxsource and stuff. I'm still into it since lockdown, really. I started doing a bit on Facebook, messing around, and it got quite a bit of a following and stuff. I mean, Craig tuned in a couple of times with my phone, me getting pissed up drinking beer, and I got back into it a little bit. And there is fantastic music out there that will stand the test of time. There's a couple of new, even that new Honey Dijon Louis Vega dub thing. I absolutely love it. My daughter loves it, and I love it as well. That sort of thing. And so it's not it's just that you don't hear that many. Well, you don't hear anywhere playing it, do you? Apart from if you go to specialist events like Vocal Booth or Bump and Hustle, you can't go out and hear it anywhere. Or unless if I go back to Bournemouth, I'll go in a bar and find Tony Anderson.
And I think that's the point Andy's making.
Yeah.
When the likes of Michael were releasing those records, Deliver Me, we were in a period of time where it couldn't have got any better, could it?
That's right.
When those big guys were releasing those, we were listening to him in Miami one week. Then we'd be fortunate enough to be playing in some other far-flung European or international country where we could just play it.
That's important.
Consume it.
It's important as well, because on the vinyl, I'm sorry to cut you off, Craig, because we had the vinyl and there were only a few people to play. And all of us and everybody that's going to come on this conversation in the weeks ahead, very humble, not arrogant, and they weren't defined by the music that they had, but they were cutting edge. They were playing the music before everybody else, and that's what gave many of you guys the edge over the other guys, and why you were so revered by the people out there. And again, I think that will also add to the romanticism about the records, I think. Let me just very quickly give another shout out to Duncan, who's dropping some names of other records. For example, Muta Swing, remix of It's Alright, I Feel It, the New York Soul. My neighbour Dave Furs is watching. Shouts out to Dave. Also Lisa Crampton with us again. Thank you, Lisa, and everybody else that's commenting, and you'll be able to read back on those. I had said, Craig, hadn't I, that I was going to pull 3 records out at random and just show them to the screen, and we could talk about them. That's something that I should do at some point. Actually, while you guys are chatting, I'm going to just jump up, because I know where all my beautiful records are. I'll pull one out and we'll see if it
I've still got a few of mine. Look, there's a
it
few there.
evokes any memories. I see the slip and slide immediately there.
Yeah, slip and slide.
So so we were talking about the new tracks and some of the big artists that were smashing it back at the time. Any more of the other people down on the south coast or along that coast that you and Si and Bob you were mentioning? You think you there's bound to be someone after this you're going to go.
Yes,
I can't believe I
back in
forgot.
the day for a female.
I got someone when you
DJ was Sarah HB.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And you actually think about it, DJ Paulette as well, because she lived in Brighton for a while, and she'd done the Escape. So those two were quite prominent at the time. Even though DJ Paulette now is quite big, does the glitter box and everything, but Sarah HB was brilliant.
There was lots of DJs that sort of crossed over a little bit, because it was a bit of a crossover between house and soulful. But Simon Aston, Southampton,
yeah,
massive props. He used to play Release the Pressure and stuff. We used to do a Wednesday night with him in Southampton. I know he stopped DJing sort of late 90s, but Simon...
He owned the junk club, didn't he? He bought himself a club.
Yeah, we used to play... Me and Seth played there quite a lot with Si, and I know you did as well.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
There was Mickey Fuller was particularly in Brighton, wasn't it?
Brighton, Mick Fuller.
So he was really big. He had the record shop in Brighton. So I know he was really big into the soulful thing. When we were doing Soul Evan Andy as well, that was later on when we were residents in Brighton. But Mick was on the soulful thing in the 90s. I'm trying to think because I'm going to get punched by people, I'm sure.
Yeah, without a shadow of a... I will say, my disclaimer will be, when you start talking here, there are so many names that really should be on the tip of your tongue, and yet they just get lost in the moment. So and we're going to have so many opportunities to shout out these people. If you guys watching want to put any names into the comments, then feel free, because it might spark their memories.
Warren Clark. We had Warren Clark, didn't we? He lived in Ringwood.
Yeah, Warren.
Everyone knows, Warren. So yeah.
Who would you say was some of the biggest success stories down the years that have come out of our little soulful scene in and yourself, Craig, whether in Cardiff or in Bournemouth? Anyone spring to mind that absolutely went on to meteoric fame and fortune? Simon Dunmore, I think, has to be the first one, right?
ATFC.
Sean McCabe, local lad, South Wales.
Yeah, South Wales, Sean.
Prolific producers and keeping, and really, to be fair to him, flying the Soulful House flag by producing the most incredible Soulful House without doing anything else or compromise. It's just straight up his sound.
Yeah.
He was up there with Flat, he was up there with Phil on that front.
Yeah,
and one of the most humble guys you'll ever get to meet. One of the most unassuming guys. One of the big shout out to Sean. But he was, he's a lot younger, isn't he, than us? So he's a baby. Much later.
He did his first gig in America when he was 14 years of age.
Really?
And his mum and dad came with him. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I kid you not. Yeah. I think he was 14. I'm sure he was. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And then I think he produced his first record when he was 16, maybe.
Yeah, because he recorded with the Black Beatniks. Came out on Champion Records.
That's it. Yeah.
Nick Mack used to play a bit of soulful stuff. Didn't he? He was a Northern Soul DJ. He didn't go on to big. He was he ran a club called the Kindergarten that John and Bob were residents with. Not Kindergarten.
K-Bar.
K-Bar. Did you? I know he played the K-Bar.
Yeah, we did a Soul Heaven at K-Bar, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
Friday night.
Yeah, I came down and did
a club that K-Bar. I used to enjoy that. Played that a few times.
Yeah, it was a good little venue. Yeah,
there was a night called Menage a Trois down on the south coast somewhere.
That was Portsmouth, wasn't it? Menage a Trois. Southampton was Menage a Trois. Portsmouth.
Yeah, that was a great night as well. They used
Gary Benetton.
Yes,
Gary Benetton. Yeah.
Gary Benetton. That's it. Yeah.
They were slightly more housey than our little pure soulful thing.
Yes.
Pure Sex in Portsmouth with Stu Conway and Steve Rising or Steve Conway.
Steve Rising. Yeah.
They were slightly more housey. There was the White Sugar going back to 92, 93, which was Pete Cousins and all them guys. They were like the early house they'd have Tilly Magic and Femi B and all those people again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Terry Francis is another one.
I almost jumped in and mentioned Terry Francis. I've got a tape of Terry Francis from Stearns from back in the day, legendary tape, early doors. It's really
Terry
good.
was part of that tonic thing as well at the time.
Cool. So
before we went down
let,
that route.
let me bring back a little bit of order to where we're going with the conversation. Let's talk about when things started to get a little bit stale for the scene down on the south coast. And Craig, we covered in a conversation before.
You don't have to go over my dramas again, thanks.
Think you know, a lot of up and downs, Bob. There was a time where the shine would have been taken off what you was doing, and
Time died.
yeah. So when would that have been?
It's a weird one. I think as well. It's a change of clubbing of losing certain venues. But I mean, one of the things about us for
Come a little bit closer to the screen for me.
Yeah, one of the things about us for Bump and Hustle is having the right venue. You've got to have a right venue. It's no good going into somewhere and the venue's not right. It has to have that right venue. And I think when it got to around about sort of 2000 onwards, the scene, the Soulful House scene dipped a little bit. It went sort of like small roomed. I don't know why. And everything is like Si said and Craig, everything went big room. So people wanted to listen to that sort of like techie, sort of proper house sort of tune. So it was weird. People weren't into that. They weren't really into the sort of soulful stuff. You could get away with playing it in a bar and you'd have a good crowd in the bar, but you couldn't really take it into a club. So we had a little bit of a lull for a period, and sort of just residents at the K-bar. And then suddenly you could see it starting to pick up again. I don't know why. I don't know whether it was the emergence of Defected, of some of the real big tunes that are coming out on Sulfuric. The whole scene started to pick up a bit more.
What kind of yeah? Okay. A big record came out in 2005. You might have heard of it. It's called Strings of Life, around about that time.
Yeah, I don't know who done that.
Wasn't it? I thought that was a few years earlier.
Just a re-edit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
it's the re-edit that did all the business, not the original.
It was a fucking good re-edit, Andy. We'll give you that, mate. It was.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
You know what? Can I just say, and I don't want to go into it, people always say that about a re-edit. We rebuilt the whole tune.
Yeah, you did.
We rebuilt the whole tune, and we still don't get the credit for it.
No, I'm talking about Danny Krivitz's re-edit, the proper one that did the damage. Not
I was on about the Mark. Was it the Mark Knight one, the 10-minute long one? What was the big 10-minute?
Yeah, the Martin Van Velden.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Or Van Telden, or whatever. Anyway, yeah.
Credit where credit's due. Yeah, it was a bloody good.
You've pissed me off now. Carry on.
But you think though, Andy, when you done that in 2005, the whole scene suddenly took off again, didn't it?
Yeah, it's all down to me. Thank you very much.
Strings of Life, that was it.
Do you know what I mean? I prefer Song for Shama. I've still got it in the rack here somewhere. I love that.
Yeah, it's a big tune. Yeah, well, we actually made Strings of Life in 2000. And then we put it out, and actually, this is a name that you'll laugh about. Well, not laugh about, that will make you smile. In a few weeks' time, I've got Gary Dillon on from Release the Pressure.
That's what I was going to say about Gary Dillon and One.
Yeah.
One, yeah, remember One?
One, yeah.
That was a good night. I remember going to Release the Pressure early doors when it was at the Café de Paris.
Yeah.
I
can remember. I got a funny story. Literally, it was after I went and played Bump and Hustle, Michael Watford live. I just thought, that's the one thing that I've got to do. When I do LAMERICA, when I get the right, I'm going to put a live act on. Couldn't do it in the Emporium, really. It was a little bit small. Liquid 2,000 capacity. Gary Dillon was on to me. They literally had access to everybody at the time. I don't know if you ever went to their offices. They had a massive whiteboard with white markers, with all the DJs, all the live artists, all over the world. So they invited me to the office because I booked Mood to Swing through them at the Emporium, out on a limb. First American, we had Paul Trouble Anderson, CJ McIntosh, Danny Ramplin, Bobby and Steve, a couple of you boys. And then I had Spen, the Basement Boys booked, and I thought, I need another American, just Mood to Swing. Went up to the office, had to pay a deposit in cash in the office. So I'm sat in the office, Juan comes in with his coffee and a water, bowls in, knocks everything over. Who the fuck are you? And I'm like, huh? I said, I'm a mate of Gary's. Oh, you're that taffy bloke. You just doing Soulful House. Right, you need to book Gerardo. And I'm like, who? Gerardo. And I'm thinking, what? That singer that's made all those amazing records. He said, oh, is that too expensive? I said, you haven't told me how much yet. Well, and he said, oh, no, we'll tell you how much after you book him. I was like, because I want to know how much it is. He said, I tell you what, we'll do it for 300 quid plus a train ticket. I was like, 300 quid. I paid Moot to swing 1,000, 1,300 quid. I said, okay. He said, no, actually, we won't do Gerardo. I'd rather put Arnold Jarvis in there. And I said, what? Arnold Jarvis from Inspiration, Arnold Jarvis, that amazing Soulful House singer. Yeah. So I think I've booked Arnold Jarvis now. So I've advertised Moot to Swing and Arnold Jarvis live. He rings me up about a month after I've started advertising it. Oh, you know, I said you could have Arnold Jarvis. What I actually meant was, it was Gerardo. And I was like, oh my God. In the end, both of them came. And I only paid for one of them. Him and Gary Dillon drove them up. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? And then it was at the time, I don't know if you remember do you remember the CDJ 100s?
Yeah.
That had the flip button like and
it opened up.
And it would knock everything out as soon as it opened. Arnold Jarvis goes, there's my disc. Can you put it in? I'm like, oh my God, I got to play a CD now. Oh my God, what the actual... I said, put it on, played, he sang. It was absolutely inspirational, to coin a phrase. Him and Gerardo ended up doing 30 minutes back to back, just, talking over music. And then going, go on, DJ, to me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm playing Soulful House with two of the biggest soulful singers I've ever seen in my life. Gary Dillon was in an ice bucket in the back of the DJ booth with Juan massaging his feet.
So when Gary's on, we're gonna have to ask about that night.
Oh, and I'll ask him. You'll have to see if he remembers that. It was so funny.
We got someone coming in saying, "Oi, oi, Matt Lloyd Kerr." I don't know. Is that a friend of
Yeah,
ours?
Matt.
Hello,
Right, Matt, fellow football coach, Arsenal fan.
He's a big Gooner fan like myself, Mr. Kerr, yeah.
So everyone's still loving it. I lost the train of thought there. How we actually got onto that story, Craig? What were we talking about?
I went off on a tangent, I think.
I think it was because Gary Dillon and Juan. There was
Gary and released the pressure, and then that's it. I started booking all. I think I booked all their roster over a period of months. Anybody that was coming up, Benji Candelero was another one I booked with Gary. And there's another funny story, right? Benji Candelero, he turns up with his girlfriend outside the club. Typical Wales. Everybody had been out at like 1 PM. We get to the front door of the queue. There's quite a big queue. All of a sudden, all hell breaks out. And literally about 100 people start fighting and screaming. I just turned Benji Candelero's wife or girlfriend, I think it was at the time. And they're Puerto Rican, yeah? They turned white. Literally, they were just like, oh my God.
Where has he brought us?
Rocks up. He'd been parking the car. I just turned to Benji Candelero. I just went, welcome to Cardiff.
Oh.
So funny. So funny.
We do need to mention Bobby and Steve. I know you touched on this on the last show a while ago. I think when you were on with Mark originally, Bobby and Steve were really quite instrumental in bringing us together a little bit. Yeah. We all played at Garage City.
Yeah.
They were like I don't know. They just sort of looked in a way.
They were the Godfathers. They were the Godfathers.
Yeah. I don't want to give props to them because I really, however much their brothers are, they were a nightmare at times, weren't they? Bang at it. I love them, But they were, yeah. I just felt I need to mention them because they were instrumental at that time, And
you look at the opportunities they gave for the likes of us, not so much Billy Big Bollocks over there, sat in his white seat, making top 10 records and all that.
It's very unfair. It's very unfair that you're picking on me.
Those opportunities. I remember I played Masters at Work did a 6-deck thing at Camden Palace on a Thursday night. and they asked me to play for an hour, and I'm thinking, really? There's like so many other people that could have played. Why did you ask me?
Was that the
Birthday
party
party.
with BB and CC Winans?
That's it, yeah.
And
They
Internal.
must have believed, Craig.
Yeah.
They must have believed in what we did. They're not going to invite. Like I look back now, I think they got me and Seth to play at Garage City and stuff, and it was like it's fucking Garage City in London, Shaftesbury Avenue. We went down there, and it was real quiet. You know, people knew their music, and I'm like,
they did.
And they must have known. They're not going to let you go on their decks, are they? If you were shit.
Well, I think Swaps had a lot to do with it as well at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
But even
that was, and I don't think
they didn't put you on at 9 o'clock.
No, that you were playing at 3 a.m. You
know what I mean? You're playing like proper sets, and it was like they had some faith in what we did.
Probably because we got so trolleyed.
Yeah, and I think that was a big part of it, and the friendship, and how we all sort of cemented that bond and camaraderie was that we did put each other on, and that reciprocal sort of, you know, you come and play for me in September. Yeah, I'm going to come and have you in November. I mean, it was just such a wonderful time, I think, wasn't it? Because it, like for me in Cardiff, I was fighting against every other promoter. They all wanted a piece of my pie.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were all part of my pie, and I wanted to share that with you, as opposed to
I think
from other people.
As well, what you actually look at for all of us coming together, because you think 1 month we could be playing at LAMERICA, the next we could be playing at Slamming. The next month we'd be playing at Back to Basics. Or you'd be playing at Manor, you'd be playing Garage City or Release the Groove. So everybody sort of moved around in the
and we just did it all year, didn't we? You know,
that's
always
right. And
looking for that Friday night residency though to pay the bills.
I've just remembered that's where we were talking, and we got sidetracked, Bob. We were talking about when the edge got taken off it and things dipped, and then it came back up again in 2005. But then it went a little bit quiet again, didn't it? And then in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, there's been a huge resurgence again, I think, on the Soulful House scene.
It's been a massive resurgence in the scene. I don't know whether it's because there seems to be more DJs that are playing it, and perhaps playing in little bars, and they have their own sort of their own little crews. Vocal booth, when you think about it, Sun to Beat Now,
Glitterbox,
Southport. So you actually think about it, for the last, I would say 6 or 7 years, it's grown again.
Groove Odyssey as well. You can't leave them out. That's
that's it.
But London brand.
But what we do have, I think, even though it's grown, is a lack of clubs.
Yeah.
It's actually, we've got bars that play Soulful House, but other than sort of like, I know you do your bars there, other than us, you know, for a club night of, say, 900 people now, there's very few clubs that do it. Groove Odyssey, perhaps, when they do the Ministry. But there's very few clubs. There's nothing really in Manchester.
Do you think you could draw 900 people to the right night now, Bob?
Well, I know we have done it at Bump and Hustle in recent times. We've had 1,100. I mean, our capacity's gone up now. For our next one, lineup is going to be 1,300.
Wow. And that is a killer lineup as well, though. I got to congratulate you on, and what an amazing lineup. I should actually. I wonder if I can find it. Can you guys carry on? I'm going to get a flyer and post it up on the screen.
You missed me off the flyer, Bob.
Hey?
You missed me off the flyer.
Well, we was going to have you on the next one.
Yeah, I knew you were going to. I know, because I was good.
But we're trying to get you back, trying to get you in for the vote, but Mossy says no, he can't come up or something.
No, they want, because I'm racing the next day, and actually I'm on holiday, that August bank holiday. The funny thing is, you know, I've never been to a vocal booth weekender, and Andy kicked me, I always say it, because I split up with my ex-wife, right? So I always had my kids for the last 2 weeks of August. So I always took them on holiday the last 2 weeks of August. We used to get back September the 5th. Vocal booth used to always be on like the 10th or something. So I only get 4 weeks holiday a year with work, because now I've got a proper job. And it's like, I could never go for the weekend to vocal booth. Now it's got so big. If I wanted to go, I couldn't get a ticket anyway.
Mate, there's always a space there for you.
know, mate.
Just don't come when Craig's coming because it'll get cancelled, I'm
That's
sure.
another story itself.
I know. But I need to sort it, and we need to go, Craig, and go because
You haven't invited me back this year because of the last twice.
Maybe we'll do it next year because my kids are grown up now and I haven't got to take them on holiday every year, so it's great. But for all the 10 years, and I was always really jealous because the boys come back with their shirts and then they had their local boots.
Go.
I'm like, fucking, why didn't I just go? And I was like, but I just couldn't because the kids came first, unfortunately.
And that's what it is, isn't it?
There we go. I've got the flyer on. Sorry to talk over you. I've got the flyer on, Bob. Bump and Hustle, purveyors of quality grooves since 1992, 29th anniversary celebrations.
Wow.
Sandy Rivera, Journeyman, Blackwax, Oliver Knight, Povey and Kuma, DJ Big At, Mike the Hat Artwell, Mad Flavor and Ratchet, Greg Llewellyn. Greg, actually, I didn't say hello to earlier. I did see him pop in. And then Brandon Block, Colin Williams, Mark J, Gary Ellis and Chris Wheatley, who have been with us. And a young whippersnapper by the name of Kofi Povey. Sunday, bank holiday, the 29th of August. How are the tickets gone? I saw an incredible response when the tickets went on sale, Bob.
Yeah, tickets, last couple of days, amazing response sale-wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we'll totally sell out ages before the gig happens.
Oh, superb.
Is there any way that we can maybe do a little giveaway of a ticket or a pair of tickets for tonight?
Yeah, we can do a giveaway, a couple of tickets. And we'll do a couple of tickets because we're sponsored by Mermaid Gin. We'll also throw in a bottle of their gin.
How do I win that?
Really, really posh.
Yeah, how can I win the ticket in the gin?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So how do you want to do that? You just get someone to drop you a message and say, I was watching Soulful House Mafia. I almost said True House Stories then. You know what? That Lenny Fontana's on my head all the time. Yeah. Fair play to him.
Lenny's got Alex Lowe's on there tomorrow, I believe, isn't it?
Has he really?
Yeah.
Wow, that'll be good.
Spread Love. You know, we were talking about anthems. That was an absolute Manor anthem, Spread Love, Black Something. That was an absolute anthem in the Manor. That almost got played weekly. What
was the capacity upstairs?
The Manor?
Yeah.
400 or 500, Bob, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 400 or 500.
And downstairs, how big? Because downstairs was quite a big old space.
Yeah, it was. What was it? Probably about 6, 7.
We do it every year. We've been doing this. We've been doing the fire station, Bob, haven't we? Bob comes every year for the last 4 years, and that's been really good. You know, everyone gets dressed up. They're all in there. It doesn't shut till 4:30, and then obviously the lights come on, and everyone goes home, and you ain't see nothing like it. Bob is freaking hilarious. Sorry to all the people that are watching, but me included in that as well. Honestly, it's hilarious because everyone's.
Yeah, if you're looking to come at the next Manor reunion, make sure you wear something nice because you're going to be judged by it.
Yeah. Old Gok One here.
Yeah. No, it's not the dress. It's the fact is it's so hot in there, isn't it, Bob? It's not
you're sweating like a rapist.
It's not. Bob, you can't say that.
You can't. You can say you're shagging sheep, but you can't say you're sweating like a rapist.
Well, there's a fine line, isn't there? Sheep's acceptable. You can shag them if you're Welsh, but you can't, Anyway, but yeah, it gets so hot in there, a bit like the old Manor days, and we're all a bit older now, that you come out and you just everyone's like drenched and all the makeup's gone and eyeliner, and that's just Seth.
I was going to say that's just you and Seth.
Let me interrupt here. Another name, another legend. We haven't mentioned him tonight, but he has been mentioned on several occasions, and he's going to be coming up very soon. Rude Boy Rupert.
Rude Boy Rupert.
Yes, mate.
Another one of the Garage City glitterati. Yeah. Never mind Glitterbox. Glitterati. Still flying the flag for music that he loves. His new single is outstanding. It's extremely good. If you haven't heard it, you haven't seen it, go search for it, check it out. It's not a plug because I need to do anything for him or I owe him anything. It's just a fantastic piece of musicality. It's not something we could all play in a club at peak time, but it's definitely not about that. You can tell it comes from his heart because he knows exactly what he wants. And talking about warm-up DJs, him and Chrissy T and Chris Williams at Garage City were instrumental in that night. Bobby and Steve, yes, were the superstars, but those three guys, like us, I used to aspire to be as good as them when I first started listening to them playing Soulful House. So big up to
They
you.
played for us a lot of the Manor as well. Them boys did.
Yeah, and for us.
And the Bumper Hustle, they can all hold their own.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
Well,
Well,
I remember,
Rupert's going to have a lot to share in the coming week, so that's going to be a great show. Carry on, Bob. Sorry.
I'll tell you how good they were. I remember myself and Tony Angus. This must have been about 1990. We'd gone up to the Soho Theatre in London. Bobby and Steve used to do a night there, and the lineup on that night was Bobby and Steve, Chrissy T, Ricky Morrison, and Paul Trouble Anderson. This was on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
An amazing array of DJs.
Yeah.
An amazing array of music. Proper brilliant. And
fantastic little venue, that.
Yeah, it is a good venue, isn't it, Soho Theatre?
We used to drive up to the Loft because Nikki Trax used to get. Because you talk about Nikki Trax, she was getting us all these DJs and stuff, and she took us to the Loft because she was always booking us DJs at the Manor and stuff and getting, because it was almost like she would bring someone in and then she'd slot them in, wouldn't she? Right, she could do the Manor at this time, then get them up to London or Birmingham or places like that. So, or they'd come down to us and that. So, yeah. But I remember going to the Loft with Nikki when Trouble was playing, and we saw Barbara Tucker there. Me and Seth did, and it was just absolutely freaking mind-blowing. She was doing Beautiful People and all that stuff live, PA, and I was just, it was like Wednesday night in London. It was so cool, and I was just like, oh my God, this is absolute soul heaven.
Literally.
Well,
listen, we're rabbiting on here, and I know we could be here all night, but we'll start wrapping it up a little bit. Craig, we touched on it before about parties that you've got lined up. Any further down the line? Any more confirmed tickets on sale? Tell us.
July the 3rd sold out. Absolutely fantastic response. August the 7th sold out. Absolutely fantastic response. I've just released September the 11th with Michael Gray. 50% of the tickets sold out in 3 days already. Outstanding. And I'm going to release August the 28th, the bank holiday.
Okay.
I'm hoping this week. I've got a couple of irons in the fire. And
did your secret DJ, who's clearly not that secret, did that come off? Your secret German DJ, did that come off?
No, the Moose T, I sacked it.
Yeah.
Only because
2 weeks you were like, yeah, I've got this big German disco DJ. I'm like, just say it's Moose T, bro.
Yeah, I should have said it was Moose T. But to be brutally honest with you, now I've seen Bob has got Sandy Rivera on the Sunday. I'm thinking, I wonder where Sandy's playing on the Saturday. Because I might shoehorn myself into that. Because another quick story. Me and Sandy played in Naples. I think I regaled this the last time.
That one.
It was the worst gig we've ever played in our lives. Bless him, and I just felt dreadful. Yeah, and I had a phone call probably about 6 weeks ago from the fella that booked us to do it to say, Craig, I'm ready to do another party. When do you want to come back to Naples? And I was like, oh my God. It wasn't bad enough last time, bless him. He wants to try it again.
let me tell you a very quick story. Talking about bad gigs, we were laughing about the Portugal gig that I did. You know, Jesus Loves Andy Ward, where I cleared the floor. Incredible. I was actually talking to Wes Saunders at Defected Records. He was the one who put that record out that's off the video. Crazy. He hadn't. He said, "Yeah, I remember the first time we met, Andy. We were talking off air. He was saying the first time we met, you sent me a video of that gig that you did, and you, for some reason, you thought I'd like to see my record like emptying a party." I was like, no, you misunderstood that. You misunderstood the reason why I sent it to you. Angela Corner is saying so many memories in Bournemouth in the 90s. Matt Sharp.
She lives down the road from me now in Devon. Bless her. It's funny, isn't it? How apart from that. So yeah, she's about 2 miles down the road. Good evening, Angela. Hope you're well. Hope Simon's all right.
We've had so
Ron
many
Nelson
people.
is down by you in Devon as well, Si.
Cornwall.
He's right down the bottom,
Yeah. So we've had so many people passing through, commenting, liking, sharing. Thank you so much. I see all of them. We've had a really great response tonight. I finally got everything working. Is there anything else? And, listen, this is so natural. It's so so heartwarming. We're going to do it again. Craig is obviously going to be with us a lot, and Si and Bob, we'll get you guys on again, you know, whenever you want to, because there's so many other stories that we can tell.
Yeah.
And the story is far from over. It's a cliche, but the story is far from over, is it?
Far from over. The next time we're on, I want to talk about strippers and gangsters at our gigs.
Yeah, let's do that. I got stories for days. I got stories for days.
Been in the studio with Dave Courtney.
Yes.
That was the name, Dave Courtney. He used to come to he used to be at the Ministry of Sound for Soul Heaven behind the DJ booth with.
That's right.
Well, I won't say it. Oh my God, I could not think of his name for so long.
Dave Courtney.
Yeah, Dave Courtney. He's a lovely chap. I spent the night.
Lovely chap. We were at a bump and hustle at the Bit. We've got Terry Hunter playing.
I got way too excited then.
And Morris Joshua. So I've come onto the stage. I've looked around and I've seen a couple of these girls there, you know, proper siliconed up. I'm thinking, hold on, there's a couple of hookers. And I've looked around the corner. There's Dave Courtney with a bag. Like that, I'm going, you know, when you take this double take and you go, Jesus, where the hell has he come from? He's just appeared.
So that'll be the next story then, yeah? That's definitely going to be the next time. And Craig as well, coming from Cardiff. I'm sure you've got a world of stories to share along those same lines, but we'll let's hold them. Let's hold them.
I'll try and get Seth on with me. I'll try, because now when we come out of lockdown, I'll see because Seth's not very good at this stuff, but I'll make sure I'm in Bournemouth and I'll get Seth next to me.
He's deaf.
You know, but he's
deaf. You have to get his hearing aid turned up.
He remembers stories that I don't, because Seth was a lot more, I was more doing the DJing and all that, as you know, and Seth was like proper party Marty.
How we can actually remember anything is quite amazing, to be fair to you.
What was we went to the After Hours Club in Birmingham with Charlie Chester downstairs.
Hush.
Who?
Hush.
The Hush.
Hush, yeah. We went in there one morning with Charlie after doing Accessible Areas. I remember, and I had enough to go back to the hotel. Seth cracked right on with him and Dave Beer from Back to Basics. And even Seth was scared.
Anybody would be with Dave Beer.
Anyway.
Yeah, right then, gentlemen.
And that's what's so nice about these conversations, that it is so natural. And thank you, Andy, for doing a fantastic job chairing it, because it does take a lot of organisation. And to be fair, we've just winged it. There's nothing being prepared. You've directed us and reined us in, which has been really well thought out. So I appreciate that. And it takes a lot to try and control three quite out there characters, because when the three of us are actually in a room having a drink,
exuberant characters.
You can't even hear us. You know what I mean?
It's exciting, isn't it? And if Andy wasn't on air doing what he's doing, I'm sure he'd be just as excited as us, because we know how excited Andy can get as well.
Yes, we'll leave it there, shall we? We'll leave it there. I mean, it's no secret, but that's the old Andy Ward. This is the new Andy Ward. The new Andy Ward's all right.
And looking quite buff as well, might I say?
Thank you very much.
T-shirt just too tight.
It's just way too tight. It's shrunk about 3 sizes while I've been on here. I'm boiling hot in this chair. Dave Needham passes through. Hiya, mate. Good to see you. Okay, then. Right, gentlemen, I am going to say thank you so very much. It's been amazing. And we got so many more of these conversations as we continue. I'm going to look in my diary. So remember, for myself, actually, I'll say goodbye to you guys now. So I'll leave you to do what you do. I'll press a button. You're going to get kicked out of the Zoom room. So you won't be able to keep talking. I apologise. And then I'm just going to tell everyone else about what I've got coming up next week. Craig, Bob, Si, thank you so very much.
Thanks,
love you
Andy.
guys.
Thanks everyone for listening to our crap. See you soon.
See you later.
Yeah, see you later.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And the guys are gone. So here you can see now the Soulful House Mafia, the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month we will be live. I had originally planned on doing it at 6 o'clock UK time, and then our good friend Lee Wright said 7 o'clock's probably better, gives people a chance to get in from work, get ready for the evening. So what I've also decided to do, in between the Soulful House Mafia, I'm going to be doing my inspirational conversations. So basically, if you have the time and the opportunity, every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. If you have nothing better to do, that's not the best way to frame it, is it? Then come and check me out here live on Facebook. I've got some great conversations, got some great guests lined up, and we're going to have more really incredible stories like that from those boys. Craig, Si and Bob, brilliant. I love them to pieces, and we've got so many more who are on the same page as those. Mark and Chris saying they really enjoyed that. Thank you very much. Also, Kelly and Phil, I see passing through in the top left-hand corner. I can see how busy you've all been. So thank you for the likes for Mark, Geordie, Angela, Cassandra, Joanne. Ray Morgan is now following the page, as is Justin Morse, Matt, Dev, I am Dev, and Steve also following the page. Thank you very much. Soulful House Mafia has its own page. We also have our own group, but as many of you will know if you've watched me over the last few days, the last few streams, I was getting a bit frustrated how difficult it is trying to get people's attention, and yet tonight everything has just worked fantastically, and it's been incredible to have your participation. So thank you very much, and thank you for everyone that's passed through to pick up the recording. I will leave it there now, guys. Dave Needham gives me a round of applause, and I say again, thank you very much, and I'll see you very soon. See you later.